You're listening to The Azria Show. If you're looking for quality real estate investing information that you can trust, you've found it. Stay tuned and join the tens of thousands of members that have already benefited from Azria, your home for education, market information, support, and networking opportunities that will advance your real estate investing career.
Welcome to today's episode on Deals, Doubts, and Doubling Down. Mike, how you doing today, man?
Excited, man. Excited to be here.
All right. So we polled the entire Azria membership base, and we want to go over some of the top 3 questions and answers that we have for you guys in response to those poll questions. So, Mike, let's jump right in, man, and let's get to it. So, one of the questions was, why finding deals are hard right now? What do you think that response is, Mike? I got an answer to that, but what do you think the answer is right now?
Yeah, let's kick off. So what I'll say, when we asked what that biggest challenge was in finding deals, so that was the so the multiple choice answers were, is it hard to find deals that pencil, raising money or securing funds, high interest rates, construction costs, or buyer or renter demand uncertainty? What was your biggest challenge? And those were the multiple choice. And the answer was finding deals that penciled. So that was the biggest result, right? So Marcus and I want to kind of just talk about why aren't they penciling? What's going on? Why was that the number one answer? So and yeah, man, if you want to kick it off or
Yeah. So one of the things that I'm seeing, man, in the market is deals are a little bit harder to pencil. And one of the reasons why is because, in my opinion, a lot of the sellers, they're just holding on to their assets, right? There is distress out there, but it's not as much distress as it was before, right? They're holding on to those 2% interest rates, those 2.5% interest rate loans, and they're a little bit skittish to get rid of those loans to go into something else, right? So why would I give up a 2.5% interest rate to go into a 6.5 to 7% interest rate? Even if you are in distress, right? You're going to try and figure it out and try and make a way in order for you to hold on to that property. That's one of the things that I'm seeing, why some sellers are deciding, to sit on the sideline, not sell, even no matter what that distress is.
Yeah, man. And to throw some stats at that, 40% of homes are free and clear. Of those 60% left, 40% of those are under a 4% interest rate. So going right to your point, proving that, right?
Yep.
So like people are sitting on equity. So if there is a problem, yeah, they could just throw it on
MLS. Yep.
And capture that, right? So and what if they did sell why if they did sell, what are they going to go into? Like I always joke around and say, hey, my mortgage payment is $1,400 a month. Yeah. Like you want to live in my neighborhood, it's $2,500, $3,000 now. Like why is someone going to, do that? Right.
Yep.
And pay more to live in a different neighborhood. It's a big move for some people.
So, right. Because right now, the only distress factors that really make a person move, right, is the 3 Ds: diamonds, diapers, and death, right? If you're going to get married and you need to upsize because you're creating a family, you have a baby on the way or something like that, you need the space, or someone passed away. Those are really the 3 main factors as far as finding those motivational triggers to where I have to move, versus, oh, I want to move or where I need to move. Because if I'm not mistaken, the stat was in Arizona, homeowners sell or move every 5.5 to 6 years. And I'm pretty sure that's extended now due to, what's going on with interest rates.
So, I think you hit it head on, that people aren't moving. They don't need to move. They have the equity, everything we just discussed. So it's hard to find deals that pencil, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard to find deals that pencil. Now, the question is I didn't have a follow-up question to the members is, well, where are you looking?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, if you're on MLS is retail. So If you want to buy a brand new TV or computer, it's like going to Best Buy. You're not going to find a deal. I would say, though, with the market changing, with more properties hitting the market, sitting longer, concessions, I think some sellers are starting to understand they need to work with the buyers. But so yeah, maybe going into MLS now, but over the last several years, no. But that's why we here at Esria, we always push off market properties. And the 4Ds, I know I never heard your 3Ds on the people moving in the retail world. That was a new one. But death, divorce, drugs, debt, right? Problems, houses that have problems around them. That's what you need to be looking for. And it kind of, when someone needs to get out of town and sell immediately because of an issue and they don't want their house, you're not have to deal with these things. Oh, numbers don't pencil, or it's a different ballpark, a different world.
Yep. Absolutely. And again, Mike, you're right. Off market, yes, it's still challenging to find deals off market, but once you do find those deals, they're a lot deeper, they're a lot steeper, and those margins are there, but a lot of people are scared to kind of go into one of our questions, double down on that marketing, right? When you're spending $10,000, $5,000, even $2,500, and you're getting 3 leads or 4 leads, it's hard to make that decision to say, okay, I'm gonna double down and drop another 2,500 to 10K to get some more leads.
You're answering the future, Marcus. We got to keep them in suspense here. There's our whole plan. But yeah, no, like that's another part of. It's like, oh, numbers aren't penciling or what? Well, how many offers are you really making? How much marketing, going to your point, are you actually doing? Right. That's another big question. How consistent are you at networking? How consistent are you with writing offers and so on? That can make a difference. That's something behind the question type follow-up questions I would have.
Yeah. So if finding deals are a little bit more challenging right now, why is rentals still the end game? Mike, why do you believe rentals is where all of the magic happens right now in this market?
So the second question, right? What strategy are you currently most focused on? And the number one answer was landlording, right? We have a lot of landlords here at Esria. And the other options we gave was wholesaling, fix and flip, buy and hold, creative finance, multifamily, co-living, and land, right? And everyone, large majority chose buy and hold. So, well, let's talk about rental properties. So rental properties are best for long-term investments because they build wealth, right? We get cash flow, appreciation, loan pay down by your tenants, tax benefits. It all happens at the same time. So over the years, your mortgage is going down, it's getting paid down, your house is appreciating. And it's a great way to create passive income. So that's number one, right? Like that's why we become real estate investors, right? We don't become go into real estate to be a wholesaler, to fix and flip. It might be a tactic that we use for income or large lumps of cash, but we ultimately do it for the passive income and all these benefits around a property, for long term. Yeah. So that's one reason why everyone's a landlord.
And it goes back to your purpose, right, Mike? Like you said, most people, when they get into real estate, it's not, oh, I want to take ugly houses and make them beautiful, but it's more so, hey, I want to move away from my W-2 job, or I want to set myself up for retirement, or, I want to make sure I have long lasting wealth for the next generation. That's majority only done through rentals, right? Yes, you can have the active income through fix and flips and everything like that, but it's taxed at a higher tax bracket, right? And you don't get those benefits that you were saying, the appreciation, the mortgage buy down, tax benefits. So at the end of the day, most people get into real estate, for the long-term wealth, and that's only done by holding properties.
Yep. And some stats I put together here. In the Great Recession, right? Values dropped up to 60-70% here in Phoenix, but rental rates may have only dropped 10 to 15%. So it's a great secure place to have your money parked, right? So That's one huge, and look, think about it. And we always say every 10 years or so, a house doubles depending on your market. But here in Phoenix, it has. And think about, it's hard to see when you're in that moment of the Great Recession and chaos is everywhere. And it's like, oh, you know what I mean? To keep that house for the long term is hard to see sometimes. So everyone that ultimately kept their house back then, or if they have, their house would have doubled. They would not be underwater anymore. So everyone let their house go back to the bank because they're underwater and all these different scenarios. So, time heals real estate. So if they, that's another reason our members are majority landlords. That's the second reason, right? Even though times are slow right now, they know holding on is key. And actually, with some of the indicators in the market, they're coming back because they know it's a good time to buy.
Hey, you know what, Mike? And then kind of piggyback off of, the first question, why deals are so hard to find. When you're being a landlord, you don't have to find that deal that's so steep, and that's so deep. You can be a little bit more aggressive because, like you said, time heals. So as long as you're holding that property for long term, okay, I could purchase a little bit higher because I have a tenant that's going to be paying off this mortgage. I have the possible appreciation that's going to happen, you know, um, things like that. So I think when it comes to landlording, you don't have to be as aggressive on your acquisition.
Yeah, man. You don't have to buy as steep as a flipper. I agree. And just some for today's market, as you're listening to this and you're sitting in your chair, rental rates are flat right now, right? So Tina Tambor did our market update on Monday. So they're just steady, right? There's no like rapid decline in rents and there's no rapid increase, which is good. Like we like when things are flat, and steady, because if it's steady, we can predict things, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. We don't like all the craziness as investors, right? And business owners. So, so I think that's a good thing. If you are buying some rentals, look at just be more careful around new builds. Right? Whether it's a build to rent community or even if it's just a new build community, because anyone buying in those is going to have a newer product than you if you're buying an older house. And if there are these corporate owners, they're going to beat us mom and pop investors in the incentives, right? We're seeing more incentives out there in month free or all this stuff is happening. So, be careful as a mom and pop landlord in those areas.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, man. So we went over some stats. I think, so those are some great reasons to why people are landlording, right? It's just the key to wealth. And I didn't understand that when I was new, right? When I was trying to flip houses. So if you're new or listening right now and you're just flipping and or wholesaling just to grab some cash, which is a great idea, nothing wrong with that. I remember a gentleman came up to me and was like, I was selling him, a sign of deals, 5K, 5K, 5K. And it's like, one day he's like, Mike, why aren't you keeping these things? You're good at finding them. And I'm just like, what do you mean? I just quit my job, dude. Like,
Yep.
I'm good.
You need the money.
Yeah, I'm trying to eat. And, he's like, America's on sale, buddy. Right. You need that. That's when I truly started to think and pay attention to and understand owning real estate is wealth, because in my head, I was always like, okay, rent's $1,000 and my mortgage is 500, 600. And then after expenses, I make $100. Like, how do you even get rich? How do you quit a job next month by buying a rental? I couldn't grasp it. So,
Well, and you know what, Mike, rental, especially for those getting started, rentals aren't sexy, right? A higher barrier to entry versus, wholesaling or fixing and flip, because now you can go out and get 100% financing for the acquisition and the renovation, but that landlording, it's not sexy, it's long term, it's a slow walk. But those who, you got to think of the tortoise or the hare, right? Yeah, the hare is going to get out there and run, and they're going to run hard, and they're going to seem like they're in the lead. But then years go by, here's that tortoise, right? And you was doing all of that active income as a hare, but that tortoise is now has tons of equity in their property. The property is paid off, things like that. Plus they got all of the tax benefits. So, and then, same for me when I got started, it was, I need that active, I need that money, I need that money. And at the time, it wasn't wrong because we needed it at the time. But now hindsight is always 2020. When you look back, you're like, man, I wish I would have kept, 50% of the houses that I wholesaled or flipped.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I wonder sometimes, because even today I'm like, man, that, been around so long that these houses, they were 50 grand to you and I at one point, right?
Yep.
50 grand, 100 grand. Now they're like 400, 500,000. You're just like, this is so crazy. But like, so I'm saying at some point, even though it might be hard to buy now, or, maybe more nerve wracking because it's so expensive. But if we go back to our own advice, 10 years from now, right?
Yep.
We're going to be saying, I wish I bought more, right? Do we want to be?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're, wherever you're at in your business, everybody listening, just get in the game, man. Start swinging the bat. So, anything else on rentals, man?
No, I think that's it. I think, you know what, just get in, right? And once you don't look at the return right away, right? Just hedge yourself and look at the long-term investment, because that's what it is. It's investing. Wholesaling is not investing, right? That's just transactional flip, 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 flip. But investing is truly, looking, down the road, forecasting, what your property would be worth and how you can put somebody or a tenant in that property to pay for everything right now.
Yeah. And actually, I'll go over one more topic on that. Because in the first question, right, what was your biggest challenge? And it was finding a deal that penciled, right? And we went over why and all that. So, so some people might be saying that about landlording, right? So the challenge, numbers don't pencil, or the financing. So a lot of people, I think the second largest one was interest rates. So of course, right, if you're going in with a DSCR loan and, you're getting a 7%, 8% rate, whatever it may be. Yeah, it's good. You're gonna have a high payment that rents don't match. So to kind of bypass all that, one thing we could talk about is the creative finance, right? The subject to the seller carryback. So getting the education to understand the lease options and all these other strategies within landlording that you can use as a tool to acquire these properties. So keep that in mind, look a little bit further into those strategies. And also, if you don't, just to get rid of those, not even worry about those strategies, talking about raising money.
Mm-hmm.
You ever raised money before, Marcus?
Yes. And it's not as difficult as I portrayed it to be, right? I put a lot of things in my own head to roadblocks, right? Self-imposed roadblocks on raising capital. And it wasn't as difficult as I thought that it would be. As long as you have that track record, and you're out there finding good deals, then raising private capital is not as difficult as people portray it to be. Because people with money are looking for deals. We just answered that in question number 1. Can you find good deals? Why finding deals are hard right now, right? So a lot of these investors, they don't have that skill set of doing the marketing, knowing the numbers, knowing how to pull leads, and then saying, all right, I found this deal, but at the same time, what do you do, to finance that deal? You have to go out and raise private capital. And again, it's not as hard as you may portray it to be. You're not pitching somebody on, hey, I need your money. You're letting them know, I have a great opportunity. I found a great deal. I know it's difficult for you to find great deals or anybody else to find great deals, but I have a skill set where I can find great deals. And because I found a great deal, I want to see if you want to partake on this deal or be a partner on this deal. So raising private capital, and you have to know that there's money out there, and there's money out there everywhere. And don't look for the person in the shiny suit and everything like that. It's your neighbor next door. It's the old lady that you meet at the grocery store. It's those kind of people really have that money that they're looking to invest. Somebody that's a retiree, right? They retired, their money sitting in a 401k or an IRA. You can help them self-direct that, and now they can put that money towards your deals, your opportunities. So raising private capital is a big thing that you need to do right now, because you can get the money for relatively cheap versus going through hard money lenders at you know 12% and 2 points, or 10% and 2 points, things like that. Some people, they have that capital that's just sitting there, and they may be gaining 3, 4, 5% interest if they have it in the market. And you can get them 9%, 8%, 7%, whatever you want to offer, on that deal. So that's what's most important, is that raising private capital piece. So kind of following up with that is, where can I go to raise private capital? Who do I need to talk to? You need to let people know that you have opportunities when you do come across those opportunities, and especially with the newer people that are wholesalers. So you gotta switch that thinking to say, instead of getting that quick 5K or 7,500, how can I strategically place myself where I can hold this long term, or I can do a fix and flip on this to gain greater market share, or to gain more capital off of this asset. Because once you have that deal, you want to be able to maximize the opportunity. You want to be able to maximize that deal. And I'm a firm believer. And one of the things that I did that I wish I wouldn't have done was, like Mike was saying, you know, getting those $5,000 checks. Yes, it's work, but it's easy. The exit strategy is easy. But if you just flip that switch in your mind and say, okay, this is a great deal. If somebody's willing to pay, me $5,000 more for this deal, there has to be something different that I can do to where I can gain that $5,000 plus more on this opportunity. I remember one deal that I was doing out of state, and I could have quickly turned and made 15K, if I would have wholesaled it. And I was like, what, at the time, it was such a great deal. I was like, what, I'm just gonna do this myself. And it was a fix and flip, and I did it. It was a long distance flip. I just figured it out. And at the end of the day, at the transaction, it went from me making 15 grand on wholesale deal to me making 90K on the flip. Was there some challenges? Absolutely. But I was able to raise the private capital, and it was no money out of my pocket. 100% financing on the acquisition and 100% financing on the renovation. So going into it, a property that I could have made 15K on it with no money out of pocket, I ended up making 90K on it, no money out of pocket. All right. So I know Mike stepped away for a minute. But the next question was doubling down, right? What does that really mean, to double down? When you're doubling down, what does that really mean, right? Because a lot of people say that, once you're in there, go all in and then double down on what you're doing. Sounds good. It sounds sexy. But once you get to that point, you start to think, and I'll put yourself in my shoes. So I did a marketing campaign not too long ago, relatively medium-sized marketing campaign to my standards. So spent like $8,000, and we had minimal leads, right? Not even a 1% response rate. And I'm used to, 1.5 minimum response rate on my marketing. Well, on this batch, it was less than 0.5%. And I had to ask myself, okay, am I going to double down on this? Do I need to spend more money? Do I throw more money at this marketing to try and pull something out of this batch of mail. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. And I'm doubling down. So I have to put more mail out there to try and increase that response rate. I'm looking at my letter, I'm looking at everything. Is there anything I need to tweak, anything I need to maneuver in order to make it work for me? So I'm doubling down going into it. Is it scary? Is it a challenge? Absolutely. But as investors, you know, higher risk, higher reward, less risk, less reward or hardly no reward. So I'm doubling down, going back, marketing to that same batch, just tweaking some things, see if I can pull something out of it. So just wanted to encourage you guys on that. You have to get back out there. You have to stay active. One of the worst things that I did was during the season, I stopped all marketing. I stopped everything that I was doing because I was reevaluating some things. And I used reevaluation as an excuse or as a crutch. Really, I was kind of just scared of where the market was at. And because of that, it set me back. I would say probably a good 9 months to a year on where I want to be because that fear stepped in and I didn't double down. So, in this market and in any market, you have to keep going because if you're not getting leads, you don't have a sustainable business. If you don't have leads, you're not going to get opportunities. So that's one of the things that I want to say. So, some real advice for action takers, right? Continue your marketing, continue looking for your deals, continue talking to realtors, continue letting them know that you are an active buyer, that you're looking for opportunities. I know one thing that happened to me is that my phone, I used to get plenty of messages from wholesalers, from agents. Hey, I'm looking for deals. I'm looking for deals. A lot of that have quieted down. A lot of people used to reach out to me and say, hey, you know what? I'm looking for my next deal. I'm looking for my next flip. A lot of that has quieted down. Um, so people are out there looking for those opportunities, but I think a lot of them are either one, on the sideline, not doing anything because they're not doubling down, or two, they're really using their network to find opportunities. So Asria is a great, great source for networking to find those opportunities, right? When you go to the monthly meeting, let people know, "Man, I'm still active. I'm still looking for deals. I'm still trying to keep the business going." All right. So um, just make sure you keep your head in the game and continue to look for those deals. So
Now, the third question, if the market shifts further, what are you most likely to do? And here were the options: stay on course and double down, pivot to a different strategy, sit on the sidelines, focus on education and networking, start selling off your assets were the multiple choice, and stay on course and double down was our members' answer, which I love that attitude. It made me nice, warm, and fuzzy inside. That's the type of members we have. So yeah, Marcus, do you want to just talk about what
sure.
doubling down mean?
Yeah. I mean, consistency is key. Um, I'm in the midst of doubling down right now, right? And I'm gonna use a real life example. Um, I did a marketing campaign, medium-sized marketing campaign to my like. So spent $8,000 and I got less than 0.5% response rate on my direct mail. Right. So I came to that crux to where it's like, all right, do I send more money to get another 0.5% response rate? Or, you know, I sit on the sidelines, or I just educate myself, or I find something else to do. So I'm in the midst right now of doubling down, right? Because one thing that I keep in my head is even with the marketing to find deals, it only take one. Even though I got a 0.5% response rate, I did get a couple of good leads that I'm following up on, and it only take one, to really make that money back and find another opportunity for me to get into, because I can spend that $8,000 as part of my acquisition and get another rental, get another duplex, another 4-unit building or something like that. So I'm a firm believer in doubling down. Um, as investors, right? You make your money, you have to take risk in order to make that money, right? Higher the risk, the higher the reward. No risk, no reward. You'll be sitting on the sidelines and you'll be wondering a year from now, all right, I need to catch back up and get back in the game. So doubling down for me is continue with consistency and continue my marketing.
So like say, so you're committed to your strategy, right?
Yep.
Right. And just focus it in, right? So are you interested or are you committed? So you're committed, you know what you're doing, you've been around, you're confident in your strategy and your resources. It's a huge one. So that's what our members are meaning. We're doubling down. So they're committed. A lot of them are landlords, so they're sticking with it, right? So another aspect we can throw to doubling down is leveling up your skills, right? Hey, Marcus knows he's a landlord. He knows it works. He knows it's his end goal, his North Star, so to speak. And he knows it's the right time to be in this business and buy now. So what I would say is you could always increase your knowledge, right? You could always increase your skills. So are you getting better at comping? Are you staying in tune with the contractors and the cost of renovations, your property managers and knowing what the rents are, or creative ways to maximize rents or cut costs, right? Or are you getting more skills on how to we talk about creative financing. Are you learning the lease options, the subject twos, the seller carries? Are you learning all that stuff while you're doubling down? So I think that's a good point of, are you committed and are you leveling up your skills? Are two parts of doubling down. Anything else?
Yeah. And like you said, a good point, Mike, is double down on your networking, right? Get out there and make sure you're keeping in contact, like you said, with the contractors. Do some agent outreach, start contacting agents, letting them know, hey, I'm still active. I know the market seems like it's in a lull, but I'm still active. So if you come across any pocket listings, any opportunities, any deals, send them my way. So I think, doubling down too is get out there and continue networking, you know, take more time, go to some of these different ASRIA subgroup meetings, some that you haven't even been to, and just get out there and keep meeting people.
Collaborating, right? So we got building your skills, staying committed, collaborating, and kind of you started touching it in the beginning and right there, marketing, right? Connecting with others, networking is a part of your marketing, being visible. We're here on the live, right? Like, so someone's in the West Valley, Juan, right? So it's like to come through to ASRIA, we're marketing right now. We're trying to be more visible. Does everyone know that you buy houses? Are you the family member when you show up to the birthday party that they're like, this is Marcus. He's going to talk about real estate all day. Hey, you got to just be that person, right? Everyone needs to know what you're doing. I'm just talking about the live right now. And like part of the reason I'm doing this is like, I was looking at like some of the stats on our Instagram and our Facebook and, just the organic views that we get per month. Right. So it's like, they're at X amount. I'm like, I went on TikTok and did 13. Who knows? They're ranging between 30 and 50,000 just views a month from organic post. So like, look, let me try this, TikTok here, right? I'm on there. I don't do nothing. I did 13 posts and I got 7,500 views and 15 new followers in one day. So I'm like, shoot, if I can keep that up for a month, well, committed, I will keep it up.
Yep.
That could be 200,000 views versus, the status quo that we're getting just by chopping up stuff. So whatever it is, like, what are you doing in a tough market and a slow market? You got to be more visible, right? Anyone money in a hot market, right? When the prices are going through the roof, the buyers are there. It's like, you don't have to do nothing. You just ride that wave. But when things are gone, and they are, you got to be the one everyone knows.
Mm-hmm. Great point, Mike. Great point.
All right. So it's doubling down. That was our perspective on doubling down. Now let's jump into any advice or, anything you want to, go over, Marcus, before we wrap up. I think we gave a lot of good advice, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I think, if our listeners and our members would just do some of the things that we talked about, and I'm not even saying they have to do all of them, just do some of the things that we talked about, that they would find themselves in a great place even during this market, during this lull in the market. And one of the things that I would also say too, man, is just continue to be positive. Continue to be around positive individuals, right? Mike, and I know, there's people that we know that been in real estate for years that are closing up shop and stopping. But as long as you stay around people that's motivated and continue to do what they need to do, you're going to make it through. You're going to make it through this season.
Yes. Great point. Yeah. I think, well said. You're being around the right people, your network is your net worth kind of thing. That's what we are here at AZREIA. We're thousands of members of people that want to do deals, want to loan money, want to buy houses, want to share resources, want to meet new people. So if that sounds like something that you want to be or you're looking for, come on over, azrea.org/calendars. Check out an event. So let's start to wrap up. Marcus, man, anything let's talk about some things going around AZREIA.
So just want everybody to remember, right? August 11th, we have our monthly meeting. Our guest speaker is going to be Isabel Garino, talking about residential assisted living, right? So this is a strategy exactly for landlords. If you think that some deals are not penciling, this is another strategy that you can use on your existing residents, right? So that's one. So come out, be with us August 11th and meet Isabel Garino. And then we have Stuart Gethner, Raising Private Capital, August 16th. That's one of the things that we talked about, right? Is you got to be able to raise some private capital because at some time you're going to run out of your own money and you're not going to want to use hard money all of the time. You got to be able to raise your own private capital. So Stuart Gethner, he's been a staple around AZREIA, been with AZREIA for over 18 years, 19 years, something like that. So he's not a novice. He's highly professional. I highly recommend you being there, and I'm going to be there for sure, right? And then for those of you that are new, go to azrea.com, right? Get your free complimentary ticket to the monthly meeting so you can learn about residential assisted living. And not only that, to meet other investors, that are in your market that's actually doing deals or actually have money to lend. And if you're looking for a deal, guess what? Deals happen right there at the monthly meeting. So azrea.com, get your free complimentary ticket. And then once you come and you see how we operate and we love on you, show you everything, be a member, right? So go to azrea.org/join, become a member. We would love to have you. It's not a $5,000 membership, $8,000 membership. It's a fraction of the cost. And you get much more than you would in a lot of these different meetups and a lot of these other different groups. So one of the things that I always know and that people always say is when you first want to get started in the real estate, go to your local REIA. We invite you to come to AZREIA and spend some time with us.
Oh, awesome. Well said. Thanks for sharing all that, Marcus. So that's a wrap, man. Great episode.
Thanks for listening to the AZREIA Show with your hosts, Marcus Maloney and Mike Delprete. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you found this information valuable, head over to azrea.org and learn more about our community.